Hey everybody. Hello everybody. Everybody who's attending or everybody who's going to be listening to this on a recorded version. Colin in the hot seat. Well, that's nothing new. I'm in the hot seat most days as any founder of a business or president, managing member is. But today, going to be in the hot seat specifically about the subjects that are close to my heart and my passion, and about my company's involvement as well in outsourcing, intelligent resourcing, and the future of AEC teams as I see it and as we see it in the company. And I also am involved with a lot of other outsourcing companies and globally who we share ideas, thoughts, monitor how the industry is moving and changing, with all the change from AI. So let's get straight into it today, and we'll get to our first question. And that is, what makes outsourcing so challenging in AEC? Well, firstly, Admiral Services, my company, we only do outsourcing in AEC. We don't do it to any other industry. I'm a chartered builder, quantity surveyor, estimator, construction manager. I understand this business. I can talk to people builder to builder. I'm not from HR staffing or any other business trying to jump in on this bandwagon now, although we've been doing this 6 years. It was built out of the COVID era, really, but it's grown and is now a successful company. So, what makes it so challenging? Outsourcing in AEC is challenging, and that is because the work isn't just task based; it requires judgment, coordination, and layered decision making. So, ask me, where does it go wrong then? Well, when firms treat outsourcing just like a straightforward transaction, they send out work with the expectation it will just come back complete, and they don't integrate that team into the delivery. And the other real issue I see is the timing. Many of the firms only outsource when under pressure. So what happens then? Expectations are high, time is short, and tolerance for mistakes is low. So it's not that outsourcing does not work. It's usually introduced too late, without structure or ownership. But firms that succeed treat it as an extension of their team. So that's the end of question number one. And anybody who wants to have any questions on any of these subjects can text in on the chat later, or even email me after the show, DM me on LinkedIn. I'm more than willing to respond and give advice. So number two, what's the biggest outsourcing mistake leaders keep repeating? Well, what I see is the biggest mistake is, and we see it all the time, delegating tasks without ownership. Leaders send work out, but no one internally really owns that outcome. So outsourcing does not improve leadership. It requires more clarity. Someone must really define the scope, review the work, and maintain alignment. There's also a misconception that lower costs means less management. Often it requires better structure, and without clear accountability, outsourcing will struggle, regardless of the team quality. So I think that sums up the answers for that question about outsourcing mistakes. So I'm going to move to question number 3 that I've got here on our slides. Is burnout really a people problem, or is resourcing one? Well, I think everybody in the construction industry has either had some burnout, witnessed burnout, and been around it. It's a busy industry, fast track. Not every project is fully manned with resources that we would prefer to have. And we tend to start early, finish late, weekend work. It's a tough industry. So is burnout really a problem for people, or is it elsewhere? In my opinion, burnout is rarely a problem for people. It's a resourcing problem. Most AEC professionals are very capable, but the systems are not built to scale. Senior staff end up handling production, coordination, and doing all the firefighting. I mean, we've all been there. We've all seen that. This creates sustainable pressure. And what looks like burnout is actually a lack of proper support layers. If you fix the resourcing model and you reduce burnout while improving performance, that's the way to go. And also, if you keep burning out on your staff, sooner or later, your staff are going to look for other jobs and leave. It really affects your retention of your teams. Many owners overlook this, and they are amazed when somebody who's been in the company who they consider is a very good worker suddenly resigns out of the blue. So it's a real issue, burnout. So don't put all your senior people just because they're dependable and capable. Nobody can work at full speed, full pace, full time all year. There has to be proper resources to support them, get and you'll get better at productivity and better quality of work as well, and a happier team. So moving forward to our fourth question, does offshore actually save money once quality is factored in? Well, here's a subject I think I get tired of hearing on a daily rate. I get told outsourcing is cheap, quality is poor. It all depends. Maybe people have had, back in the day when as it's grown, the BPO industry has grown and outsourcing has spread into that construction world. That people have had bad experiences. Maybe they didn't select the right partners, didn't do their due diligence. Maybe they didn't put the structures in place for it to be successful. Outsourcing can work, but you have to have the right partners. Now, I know that saying there are companies that I know that I highly um, consider as well-performing outsourced BPO companies. Some are a lot bigger than my company. My company is only around 150 people. There's companies with 500 people, 2,000 people. Excellent companies, excellent structures, very good performance. Unfortunately, people go for some tend, unfortunately, to go for the word which I hate is cheap. I always say we're never cheap. We're cost efficient. We're not cheap. And we'll never aim to be the cheapest or the most expensive. We're going to aim to give a competitive price, to give a high quality product, and provide open, transparent relationship, and be a trustable, dependable partner. Um, so I would like to answer this question a bit more clearly. I think offshore can save money. It's not always in the way that you most expect, really. If used purely for cost cutting, it can lead to rework and delays, as I just said, especially if it's not structured properly. The real value comes from structure, clear workflows, integration, and consistency. The benefit you get is improved throughput and freeing senior staff, not just lower rates. You're getting more productivity time from your senior staff to focus on your core business instead of the engine house, the production work. This is a real benefit to your business. So move on now to our question number 5. What does intelligent resourcing mean in practice? Well, intelligent resourcing is a term that I've brought in for us to distinguish from general outsourcing. Because outsourcing that we've been discussing to us is transactional, fixed price. Give me documents, I give you back a product, you pay me, and that's everybody should be happy and we walk away. But that's normally for peak load workloads and short-term gaps. And normally it's the last minute when they realize that they're struggling. But what is much more smart to do is to intelligent resource your capability. So intelligent resourcing means matching the right work to the right level of talent. Not everything needs a senior professional. Many firms misuse high-level resources for production work, which is unfulfilling as a senior professional. I remember being on a large project where I was a very senior project manager for the job. I am a quantity surveyor. And they kept asking me, because I am a quantity surveyor, I was being asked that, but back then it was a man in his 50s with 30 odd years experience. Oh, can you do this takeoff? Can you do that takeoff? And I thought, as a senior project manager, utilizing me to do takeoffs as much as they were, it wasn't fulfilling for me at that stage of my career. And obviously, then you move on. So that's an important factor as well. And also, like for America, we've been using our office in Argentina, Cordoba, to develop our teams in Latin America. So we use basically Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, and Mexico are the four main sources we use. And there's many guys there with degrees and masters, and you can have them engaged at 50% of a local guy. Now, not to replace a local guy, but if you have to have more capacity due to your company's growth, especially in certain states in America, there is not that many good Revit architects just on the market, look at sitting waiting for a job. And if you recruit people, you're going to have to pay the recruitment fee, it can be $20,000 or more. You're going to probably take 3 or 4 months recruiting, spending your time reviewing CVs, interviewing, and then you've got to buy hardware, software, provide an office space, or if they're going to be working in your office. So it's not straightforward. So intelligent resourcing really means, as I said, matching the right work to the right level of talent. Now, in our company, we tier our talent. There's 3 tiers. Some 3 to 4 years out of university, 5 years to 10 years, and 10 years and above. 10 years and above, generally sort of 10, 15 years, 10 to 15 years plus a degree, obviously, and in many cases a master's, have experience in the USA, working either went to college or in university in the States, or they've been working remotely. They understand the standards and the codes, very, very intelligent, speak perfect English. I mean, I was shocked with one of the teams this week. I was talking to them, and my guys they were speaking with such American accents. Their English was so clear. I said to them, "Where did you live when you were in the States?" And they said, "We've never been there." They never left Colombia, and they learn from obviously they go to school language schools, and then they watch a lot of movies and stuff. But their accent was so good. So communication is not a problem at all, and you get intelligent, highly skilled people who do Revit architecture, for example. No need for them to be sitting in your office, and they can be on your time zone because they're only like an hour or 2 hours difference, depending which Latin American country you work with, can be available 20, all throughout your work day. If you need to meet sudden meeting or catch up, they're available. I mean, it works. It makes a lot of sense. It's a smart way to work. That's why we call it intelligent resourcing. Okay, so moving on to number 6. When should firms augment locally versus offshore? And I'm the first one that's saying our goal is not to replace local teams. Our goal is to provide capability to companies to grow their business, and that means securing the work of the local team that they've got in place. So we need to keep their local people. So when should they augment locally? Of course, if it's a client-facing role and design-led work, it should be a local role. We always say to everybody, we are not designers. We're not concept designers. We can provide design support, but we don't want to do that because that's the companies that we work for. That's what they do. They're skilled at the design. What they need is a 3D model, or they need a floor layout, or they need documentation. Yes, we can support with all of those things, but we definitely do not. Even though we have many licensed architects overseas, we are not licensed or registered for stamping drawings in America. We could become so if I wished, but that's not our goal. We do not see ourselves in any way to do with design as pure design. That is, I don't want to compete with the people that we're working for. So we just provide support to the designers. They can use it. So for locals, hire, definitely client facing, design led. For the offshore, it's your engine house for production, documentation, repeatable, technical tasks. So top performing companies, and this is where I really see it, combine both into hybrid teams that offer control and scalability. And I see the hybrid team being the best solution. And to further help that, we've even created the Admiral Collective, whereby we engage with local USA and other countries, but we'll talk for USA for now, consultants, be it architects, project managers who are known in a local area, have that local experience. If a particular client really wants to have somebody that can attend the physical meetings, be the connection point with the offshore team, we can provide them reputable local freelancer to do that role under the Admiral Collective. That's just an added value that we offer if required. Most companies that we're working with so far are not choosing to do that, although they've expressed interest because they have their own team leaders, project coordinators in-house, and they take on the role. So whichever way the clients want to work, that's the way that we flow. So the next question for us is, which role should never be outsourced and which should be outsourced? And for me, it's less about roles and more about responsibility versus execution. Client relationships, decision making, and design ownership, in my opinion, should always remain in-house. You cannot outsource those things, in my opinion. I think it would be a mistake. Now, execution of work, such as drafting, modeling, documentation, that can be supported externally, that's intelligent resourcing. That's smart. So outsourcing responsibility instead of execution is where its issues arise. You need to outsource for the execution, for the engine house, for the production. Get your drafting done, your modeling, your documentation. Let your guys focus on maintaining strong relationships with the client, doing your team making decisions, and any design ownership. I hope that clarifies that one for you. On the next question I've got here, what's the real difference between staff augmentation and a pod? Well, first I should clarify, what is a pod? Pod is a term that we, again, have utilized and developed for our company. It can mean a lot of things in a lot of different places, but in our business, it's a professional offshore division. So staff augmentation really fills short-term gaps with individual contributors. Like you might phone me and you need a Revit architect for 3 months or 6 months or a 3D modeler, and we can provide that. They can fill a gap in your team for that period, and then we can descale and demobilize. And that works very well for a lot of people. But other companies, smaller to medium-sized companies who are growing, and they are doing, let's say, for example, they're doing a lot of Revit work, and they have difficulty in finding the volume of locally required qualified Revit architects, then you can create a pod, a professional offshore division, where we will put 4 or 5 Revit architects together from whatever seniority, from the smart assist to the executive talent, and you can blend a team together with a team leader. And if you take the value of that team, it's like 50% less, at least, of what it would cost you to have that same number of people in-house. We've had people who have really considered it with Revit architecture, and it's really been working successfully for them. And they had started with us with 3 Revit architects and 6, and then even one went up to 9, our guys on the augmentation model. And then they realized, well, we've got 9 guys working with Admiral. Let's So I said, why don't we structure this better into a proper professional offshore division? There's no red tape. You don't have any entities to form. Admin will take care of all the payroll and the people and all of that. You just pay a rate. You don't have to worry about anything else. And you get a monthly rate. There's no hidden fees. There's no hidden costs. The rate that we quote you in your detailed proposal, that's all you have to pay. That's it. Um, Augmentation is reactive, normally anyway. It's reactive to a need, an urgency due to growth, due to a lack of local people. Where the pod um, option really creates long-term capacity and stability. And I think we're seeing, we're talking a lot of companies, it's not just about providing them with one or two rivet architects. Some people want quantity surveying. They've got, say, 5 or 6 estimators in house, and they're wasting too much of their time doing takeoffs instead of pricing. So we're setting up a team of 4 or 5 takeoff quantity surveyors offshore, and then they feed in the takeoffs for the estimators to be more focused in on getting out throughput of more bids to their clients. So it's really successful for different roles, with whether it's an architect, an interior designer, or a general contractor, subcontractor, specialist contractor, or a property developer. There is options for all of those to provide pods. Also, within staff augmentation, we do sales and operational support. And in that, we can also create a pod offshore. If you're having difficulty with account payables, account receivables, a bookkeeper, document controllers, you lead generation, social media manager, we also provide those people only for the AEC industry. And we know what you need. So the people that we bring forward, we're not competing with virtual assistant companies that are popping up every day of the week. We will be providing you people who've got AEC experience in those roles, and basically you can engage them without having to employ them, and you're going to have to save probably 50% of the local cost as well. Plus, we can create that as a professional offshore division, which is there for you. You know, it's there. It's just a different. It's like having a head office in one place and a little office somewhere else, 2 hours down the road. It's no different. You're not going to see them every day, but you can talk to them every day. So, getting into the last few questions here. So, the next question, I hope I'm not speaking too fast. Unfortunately, I tend to get a bit excited about this subject as I'm passionate about it, and I just want to get the message out there, and I hope I'm explaining everything clearly. How are leading firms scaling without burning out senior staff? Leading firms separate leadership from production. That's without question. I see the successful companies and how they operate, and they separate the leadership from the actual production. Senior staff focus on decisions and clients, but they're supported by strong delivery layers. And that can be in-house if you have sufficient capacity. But many times with today's work and the scale of projects that are out there, you need additional people. That's where augment your team by professional offshore talent. It makes sense. So what does a healthy AEC team look like now? A healthy team, for me, it's a layered team. There is a core leadership group, and that's supported by the in-house production team and the offshore flexible production team to cope with the capacity. The advantage of the offshore team, for us, we need 10 days notice to demobilize from a project, 10 days notice to extend a team. That's it. No, you're not left with hardware and software that is going to be sitting there that you paid for that you don't need. And then if you need us back in 3 months, we come back again. That's the advantages of being flexible. But we see our part fitting into the healthy team under the flexible production capacity. capacity. There is a clear division between strategic and execution work, and the flexibility ensures the team can scale without pressure, and that avoids burnout. If you're building a firm today, what would you do differently? Well, I would recommend any business owner in construction, small to medium size, I would not rely on a fully local fixed team. I would design a flexible structure with a strong core and scalable support. I would invest early in systems and workflows, and the goal would be to build a team that scales without adding constant pressure. So the way I look at it is the core team that you build, you can't just keep hiring and building a monster company with that overhead in this day and age and remain competitive. You build the core team to suit your business, your dependable, trusted, in-house, long-term staff. And then you support that with the flexible structure that we've been discussing in this live stream today. So I think that ends the questions that I've got here in front of me. I think I just want to summarize a little bit by saying that I'll explain again. Outsourcing for me is project specific tasks. It's purely transactional, and it's more for shorter term projects and for peak growth periods. So it can come in, do it. Oh, we got a huge, our estimation team is, under pressure. We've got a big hotel. We need a takeoff of it. We can come in, do that one takeoff, and then we move away until you need us again. That's outsourcing. It has its place in the market, but much better, as the name suggests, is intelligent resourcing. Build your capacity. Build. If you have the opportunity to build a team without incurring more overhead, so you're building a team that's very cost efficient, at least 50% less than local hires, that does not add to your overhead, can be demobilized within 10 days without leaving you with hardware, software, desk space, and other issues, or termination packages. It's the smart thing to do. That's why it's intelligent resourcing. So on that note, I don't know who we've got with us on the meeting today. If anybody's got any questions, they're more than willing to drop them in the chat, and I'll answer them. And if we don't get any questions in the next minute or two, it's not to worry, but this is being recorded. Anybody who's at the meeting will get a recording of this with the slide that we've given. And then always feel free you can email me, which is hello@admiralservices.com, or you can send me a DM on LinkedIn. And I would also take the opportunity. We have a newsletter on LinkedIn that's released every Monday called the Construction Cornerstone. In parallel to that, we have a podcast which is on Spotify, which is released every week. But the LinkedIn weekly newsletter is very successful. There's over 3,000 people subscribe to it. Interesting topics, well worth a read every week. If you're not a member, subscribe to that. And the other thing is that we've just started a monthly business newsletter, which is not meant to be sales pitchy, but to be more information about what's trends in the industry and things that are going on. And that'll be issued once a month. It'll be very informative, very interesting. Of course, we'll make announcements about things that are happening in our company. So I wanted today, we do a hot seat once a month on LinkedIn on our posts. And I thought it was a good opportunity for me to explain these questions are things that come to me every day of the week. So I hope that they're clear. But as I said, do not hesitate to email me, book a meeting on my calendar. I'm more than happy to help everybody with some advice. It doesn't mean I'm looking for you to give me a job next Monday. I mean, it's just a conversation. You want further clarification, information, and then when the time is right, you can talk to us. So yes, that's I'm seeing there's no questions popping up right now. So I'm going to take this opportunity to wrap this up, and the questions will be shared throughout LinkedIn over the next week or two. One by the video clip responses, and then the full video will also be on YouTube within a week or two. And as I said, if you everybody present will get a copy anyway. But anybody who's gonna get wants the recording, they've only got to DM me or email me or drop a message on our website. We will get back to you and we'll provide a copy. I hope that the information has been of benefit. I tried to be as clear as I can. Um, so thank you guys for everybody for who did attend today. Highly appreciated. For those who are going to listen to the recording in full, again, highly appreciated. We just want to get the word out of what we do, but we work to our clients' requirements. If you want outsourcing, we go that route. But we're more and more recommending to our clients, take a good look at intelligent resourcing. Augment your team with capable staff, professionals. We do all the recruitment. You're not going to pay any recruitment fees. You're not going to pay anything unless you approve the person. And when we submit the person to you, before you even have to interview them, we'll have given you a resume which we vetted and tested. We don't just assume because you send a CV to us that you're a Revit architect. Even if you've been 20 years a Revit architect, you're going to have to do our Revit test. And if you don't pass that, you'll never even be proposed to any client for us. So we really pre-qualify and we do background checks because we want it to make it work. And to date, we've had nobody ask anybody to be removed. And the majority of our clients start with somebody for 3 months and then they end up staying there 6 months, 9 months, a year. And we're even on the second year with some of the clients. So I'm available to anybody who's works with us. We listen to what you want. We care about the company, not just when we're selling to it, when we're working with them. We're there to help support and be a strong part of your engine, your offshore engine, to get the production capacity in place. So thank you very much, everybody who joined, and I hope you're going to enjoy the offshore outsourcing versus onshore hiring guide that we produced. Should give you some more information. So all those of you who've attended today will get that. Anybody who requests it online or by you on the website, by email or by my LinkedIn, we'll be happy to share it with you as well. So thank you very much, everybody. I really appreciate your time. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.